Welcome back to our last session of the day, and we've actually saved the best for last. I have for you today a session called Engineer More, Work Less, the DBS Journey in Autonomous Database. And we have with us, all the way from Singapore, long trip, I bet, GP, who is the director for their IT, has been using MariaDB for a long time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to GP. GP?
Thank you, Luis. Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, friends and experts. And hello, everyone who is online. Yeah, hi. So before I start, a little bit background about me. So my name is GP. Right, so I am working in DBS for last 8-9 years, completely working in the database area. Before DBS, I was working in JP Morgan for about 10 years, and before that in IBM for 5-6 years, and even before that a few companies in the database area. So all of my life, I am working only on the database area, right? So that is about me, and some information about the DBS who don't know about the DBS bank. Right, so in DBS, we always focus on the neighbors first, bankers second. What does it mean, right? So neighbors first meaning, we always concentrate on your priority, meaning like the family's priority is our priority, and whatever your personal goals are our goals. So that is what we aim for as a DBS bank. So because of, we set our priorities right and customer focused, we have achieved so many awards, right? Like, few are listed here: best bank, best digital bank in the world, best bank, in fact, the safest bank. Last, I think, 14 years, DBS is the best digital bank, best bank award we have received, right? And also, some the revenues and everything. So since our priorities are set correct, and of course, all the revenues, by default, it is coming into that. And also, we are getting many awards for that. Right, so since we are talking about the journey of the DBS, moving from the old legacy structure into the digital technology, right? I want to share like where we were 10 years back in 2000, before 2009 and versus current. If you look at 2019 or before 2014, right? So majority of DBS infrastructure is supported by, it is outsourced to the vendors like IBM or whoever it is. Right, but if you look at the current structure, right, so majority, more than 90 to 95% it is insourced, like we ourselves, we support, right, everything like infrastructure, data centers, network, applications, everything is supported by our own people. So in a way, DBS is beyond the banking, it is like a technology company. Right, so out of, even if you look at the total number of staff in the DBS, we have around 40,000 employees across the region. Out of that, 10,000 employees are the technologists. So what does it mean is like, every 4 employee, you can find 1 technologist. Right, so if you want to name the expert, definitely he or she will be available in DBS, right, any technology. Right, so here, the Gandalf, right? Meaning like, okay, since we are the technology, we are comparing against with the technology companies. So from the name, the Gandalf, it is a very fancy name, right? If you look at, we, as part of the transformation journey, for this transformation journey, we want to give some fancy name to us, meaning like the Gandalf means a lot to us, right? So if you look at the name from the first name, G, Google, Apple, or Netflix. So here, fortunately, there is no company name called D, so we perfectly fit into that. So DBS is part of that Gandalf part. So what does it mean is like, when we started the journey in 2014 or 2015 onwards, whenever because we built this DNA in every employee's blood, right? Meaning like when we say, oh, this project is part of the Gandalf journey, it means a lot. Something similar to, the OpenWorks. When we say OpenWorks, it means a lot. I don't need to explain the background of, which are all the companies are joining in, who are all coming here from across the world. So everything it means, right? So similarly, when we say Gandalf, oh, this project is part of the Gandalf journey, even though you are in a, long queue, you can jump the queue, you can go in front, those kind of projects, anything, right? So that is what the Gandalf, we are part of the Gandalf, and we are a great success on making our digital transformation journey. So here, if you look at the different companies, we can't transform in 1 day or 1 month or a couple of weeks. It will take some time. So even if you take the companies like Google, right? So Google, in fact, they started from 2000, and it took 5 years for them to transform completely, right? Similarly, Apple also, you see, it took around 6 years. Same for Netflix and for other companies. On the same way, for the DBS, we have started our journey in 2013, 2014 onwards. And by 2020 or 2019, we are completely transformed. That is why from 2020, in the previous slide, 2020 onwards, we have received many digital awards. And it is our continuous journey as part of this transformation. Right, and if you look at the normal typical banks, right? So normally, yeah, everyone wants to go cloud because it is a very fancy name, right? So yeah, I want to be part of the cloud. But we don't, as a DBS, we are not just going for the cloud just for the sake of moving into the cloud, right? We transform everything, meaning like including from the data center, network, even the hardware, and even the OS, or databases, applications, people's mindset, everything. So there's a complete transformation journey. That is what we are the true cloud native. Right, so, and as part of this cloud digital transformation, the important topic is the resiliency. I think in the previous forum also many experts explained about the resiliency. But reliability is not equal to the resiliency, right? Assuming that even I have the 99.59, right? 99.999, I have the resiliency, but still we are accountable for one failure in like maybe out of 100,000, right? You take maybe the airline industry, right? So in the airline industry, yeah, of course, maybe even if you apply the same logic, out of 10,000 or 100,000 flight, one flight is going to crash. Are you going to fly? Right. So that is what. So here, what does it matter is like, that is what, even if you take Airbus or Boeing, whoever it is, instead of flying with the 2 engines, they now fly with the 4 engines or whatever it is. So even if there is a 1 failure or 2 failure, if you are capable to come up and without creating any outage to the application or any, I am just translating into the database world, right? So if you are able to, handle the customers or handle the application without any failure, then we are okay, right? So here, because failure is an option, we can't prevent the failures, right? But how you are managing the failures, in the sense like how you are failing fast, or the safest way to recover from the failures. So in DBS, as part of this journey, we have concentrated mainly on these 3 main areas, right? The hardware and the software and the people. Because as part of this journey, all 3 are important. Because even if you miss one area, I don't know whether you may succeed or fail, I don't know. But as in DBS, we have concentrated on all 3 areas like hardware and software and people, everybody, right? So that is not easy, right? Because if it is just on one department, it is very easy to achieve it. But if it is the complete application, and also, out of 40,000 employees, everyone transforming and feeding this idea into their mindset, and they also need to run with you, right? As part of this journey, right? Just if it is only one team is running, I think it won't help. So that is what it means. So as part of this, I will be covering on the, the software with the MariaDB in later slides. Right, so on the hardware part, since we are the cloud native, and of course, we have to go with the commodity hardware, no choice, right? Because you can't go with the physical servers like or the mainframes or the area. So when you go with the commodity hardware, of course, the failure rate will be more, but it is more cheaper, and you need to manage the failures, or you need to come from those, you have to manage all those things. Right, but so these are all the challenges, right? So we faced these are all the challenges. Like if you look at the left side, on the traditional way, like if you take any physical servers or the mainframes, the failure rate will be very, very less, like less than 1% failure. But if you go to commodity hardware, of course, the failure rate will be more, maybe 5% or 7%, the failure rate will be more. And similarly, before we start the MariaDB, maybe 5-10 years back, our number of servers within DBS or around 3,000 servers, physical servers, right? But by the time we don't have any MariaDB, it is completely zero. But if you look at the current landscape, we have 40,000 plus OS, all mostly on the VM, a virtualized machine. And out of that, we have 6,000 MariaDB and MaxScale servers. It is not just one or two, right? So overall, we have 6,000 plus, and maybe today it will be more because every day it is keep increasing, right? So you can't operate the way how you operated in the past, right? So the mindset needs to be changed, because if you need to have the even the skill set, like if you take maybe for the Oracle DBA or the SQL DBA or for even for the DB2, you can easily find somebody from the market. Maybe you put the cost factor aside, right? So definitely you can find somebody with the skill set. But in 2006 or 2010 or 15, if you want to find a MariaDB DBA, nobody is available, right? So even if you are paying more, nobody is available in the market, right? So that is our challenge, right? So how we are going to mitigate that? Those are all the challenges. And similarly, like the traditional way in the past, green zone meaning like a downtime, because I am deploying something, so formally I am getting a downtime from the application, downtime from the customers, right? So I can implement something. It is something like, you are bringing your car to the mechanic shop, so you can shut down the engine and you can do all the repair, right? So that is no problem at all. But today it is like an open heart surgery, right? You can't bring down any database down, right? So because the availability, right? It is utmost availability is important. Even a single second, the database can't go down now, right? Because most of our critical services like, the internet banking, mobile banking, and also many wallet applications, we used to call it as a PELA. And we have the cross-country, even the Singapore and Malaysia, it is cross-border. Even the same application can be used across the countries. So the database can never go down, right? So green zone is not equal to downtime hereafter anymore, right? So these are all the challenges we faced, right? And as part of this, then that is what the MariaDB coming into the picture, right? So we evaluated few databases, and MariaDB was fitting right as our expectations, right? So we concentrated mainly on these three areas. One is, the self-drive, meaning like the automated way of deploying or provisioning the databases, and the self-secure, because since we are the bank, of course, the security is the most critical concern, right? So it has to have the way to satisfy all the auditors, regulators, and even our internal audit teams, right? And also it has to have the self-healing power to, even if some permissions are granted, additionally it has to auto-heal by itself, and self-repair, and also the patching, everything, right? It has to be automated, because we can't operate any databases like the traditional way anymore, right? So now, right, as part of this, then these are all because we need to have now we have our vision clear. Yeah, we want to move on to the digital journey, and we want to, bring the MariaDB into the premise. But these are all our decision making and the key considerations for deploying the MariaDB in DBS, right? Because as a DBS bank headquartered in Singapore, we have across all the regions, right? So all major markets, Southeast Asia, everywhere. So we have the data centers placed in all the countries, right? Because of the regulatory reasons, the data cannot be shared between different countries. Like even though we are headquartered in Singapore, if you need to access, or if we are supporting the other countries, then the data center must be on the local country. So here, whatever the automation or whatever the deployment we have, it has to support all the regionals. Because if you take Singapore, Singapore is a small country. So even if you have two data centers, primary and secondary, the distance is maybe 30, 40 kilometers max. Right, so even in this case, the network latency is maybe maximum 0.1 or 0.2 millisecond, even though you have the master on one data center and the replica on another data center, maybe 0.2 millisecond max you can get it, right? But if you take countries like China or Indonesia or India, we have the data centers across 3,000 or 5,000 kilometers away, right? So you have to think about it. You can't apply the same logic there also. Right. So, but when we are building the automation, you can't build automation, different automation for every country, right? So it has to be the same. So that is one of the important decision-making criteria. And also as a bank, the security patches and for the bug fix patches are highly critical. We can't run any database, right? Even if the bugs or the security fixes or any CVEs are released within within 3 to 6 months, we have to apply that security patch. We have the stringent requirement from regulators, right? So, but having like 6,000 MariaDB and max scale, you can't, even by patching or upgrading, every day you have to do a lot, right? But you can't operate in that way. And similarly for the major upgrades, because if you take maybe the traditional databases, maybe those life cycle will be like pretty high, like 5 years, 10 years. But open sources like MariaDB or any database, maybe maximum 3 years or 2 to 3 years, right? So because every new releases are keep coming up. And also, since it is a commodity hardware and the ESX reboots or failures, very common, right? So whatever you are building on top of that, it has to have the capability to handle those failures, right? And also for the load balancing, splitting queries, and adding the slaves on real time, right? And any data changes, if there are any accidental data changes, how we are going to handle. Because since there are many numbers of changes or many, even though we have the CI/CD and other pipelines, so this is we are expecting that some data changes or some accidental damage may happen. So if at all, if it is happening, how we are going to handle that, right? Without downtime. That is also an important thing. And how many number of failures you are going to cope up with, right? So at least 2 failures you have to handle, and more, right? At least 2. So now, right, so these are all the facts we consider before we start to deploy or before we start to automate MariaDB in DBS. So we came up with a few deployment patterns, right? So as a bank, we have a wide variety of applications, like meaning like high critical applications, low critical applications, or the internal applications. There are many, right? So if it is a very low critical application, or if it is used only within the employees, right? So then that is we consider it is a less critical application. So for that we go with the standalone deployment. Even with if it is a standalone deployment on top of the MariaDB, the bottommost. After that, above that we will have the app layer and the web layer, etc. But here, even though when we say it is a standalone, there is no other resiliency within the database layer, but on the backend, since we built all our VMs or the on the backend we have the other resiliencies like VPC resiliencies, and also we have the backup redundancies, right? So for the less critical applications, yeah, we always recommend to go with the standalone. But if the applications are highly critical, right, then of course you need to have the resiliency at the database layer. Like we go with at least one master, one slave, or one master, two slave, or we have few applications with one master, many slaves, right? So the main reason is, yeah, at least even if the master goes down, the replica might pick up, and it will automatically promote the slave as a master within, even though here we mentioned 30 to 40 seconds, but in reality it is, I think, 25 seconds, right? So within 25 seconds, the other server is getting promoted as a master, and it is keep running. So the business is keep running it, right? So here you see the constraint here is like, even though you have one master on many slaves, because all the databases are syncing real time or close to real time because of semi-sync or whatever the replication type, right? But if you have the accidental data damages, then this method will not help. So that is why we are, even we have the method for handling the data corruption or even the accidental data damages. We go with the multiple replica copies, right? So on top of master and the slave 1, 2, 3, etc. On top of that, we go with maybe few replica copies. One server will be running with maybe 6 hours, just an example. So that can be customizable, not a problem, right? Maybe 6 hours minus or 12 hours minus. So assuming that even because as a bank, we can apply or we can implement all the changes only during the night time, because daytime is highly critical, right? We are facing the customer. So nighttime, when you apply the change, even if it is 10 p.m., 11 p.m. or midnight, and next day morning, if you realize that, something gone wrong, at least, you can recover from, or you can go back to the previous state. So these are all the, this is one of the automated portal, the link, right? So from here, we give this facility to the end users. The end user is like our customers or the application team. So they come, we developed like our marketplace, the technology marketplace. So on this marketplace, so they just come to the portal and they can consume our service. Like when they come here, or if they want to just deploy the MariaDB, they click the MariaDB. Later I will show maybe a 2-3 minutes video demo. So here they can choose whether they want to have the standalone or go with one master, one slave, or one master, two slaves, master slave with replica, without replica, all. So just they click it. So it is just a 5 to 10 minutes, right? So they will get the complete set of VM and all the security hardening applied on place and all the IDs created, the infrastructure IDs, all the replication setup, and all these links, because we have many automated portal links also in place, right? So all those links will be automatically taken care as part of this 5 to 10 minutes deployment pattern. Right, so that is for the day 0, by the way, like all the deployment is happening via day 0, we consider, because it is something like when you are buying a iPhone, right? So basically all the software is installed, all the hardening, all the security parts, everything is by default installed. And so that is considered day 0. When it comes to day 1, so now you want to apply, you want to install your own application on your phone, so that is considered day 1. On the same way, even when the VM is ready, so now to the application team, as an application developer or whoever it is, what it matters is like, okay, so now I have the VM, I have the database server, but I don't have any database created yet, I don't have any tables created yet, or I don't have any users created it, right? But if you need to, because if you look at the traditional way, normally they will come to the DBA, right? Either maybe via some change request or via service request or whatever it is, they come to the DBA and we create it. But considering this volume, like 5,000, 6,000 servers, right? So even if I have 20 people or 30 people, still there will be so many application team will be in the queue. I can't serve them immediately within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? So for that, we have developed this tool, the self-service portal, automated portal called RunDB. So here, application team can come here and they can do most of the functions. They can do self-service, like creating database, creating tables, users, granting permissions, scheduling backup jobs, even setting up master slave, and even patch the database, upgrade the database. Everything can be done via this tool. So if you look at the numbers, you see in the bar chart, you can see close to, on average, there are 12,000 requests every month we are serving. So what does it mean is like, if the DBA is spending 30 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes, every request, this 12,000 requests translate into 30 or 40 DBA per month, right? So this, because of all this automation, even by having less number of DBAs, so these tools can be taken care of all those automated tasks. So that is on the day 1. Now, assuming that after the day 1, so the server went live, right? So now the monitoring, right? The observability, as part of the SRE, the observability is more critical to the application team and also to the infrastructure team for both. So we have developed a few automated portals, like this is, we call it as a cockpit. Like, so this cockpit, as part of this default onboarding, this will be showing like long-running queries, lock waits, or even any file system issues or the backup issues, or even if your table doesn't have the primary key, or even the version, whatever it is, right, uptime, everything, meaning whatever the application team needed, they can come here. So if everything is green, means, yeah, they are good. If anything non-green, yeah, they will, the specific application team or the specific application manager or the infrastructure lead, they can go and look into it for the details. Right, and even as part of the day 2, like earlier I mentioned patching or upgrade, we have automated it, meaning like the application team, they don't need to come to the DBA for the patching. So we created the self-service portal for them, right? So they come and schedule the patching anytime, right? Because it is open 24 hours to them. So for less critical applications, even they can patch during the daytime. If they consider it is a highly critical application, normally they do schedule patching during the night times. So right now, you see the patching capacity, if you look at the numbers, we can patch 220 servers per day, right? So there is no manual intervention is needed. So all will be taken care of by automatically. All meaning everything, including the VM snapshot, even the database backup, and then patching. And after the patching, it will reboot automatically. And then the end user will see the screen. But since we have the resiliency, right, meaning like one master, two slave, etc., normally, of course, we have that workflow. So we patch the slave 2, and then, if everything is okay, then slave 1. So all those will be taken care automatically. And this is the another screenshot to show that how our dashboard looks like, because here every box is a couple of VMs, right? Meaning you can see there are one box is around 40, 50 green items, which means there are around 40, 50 max scale servers connected to just three MariaDB servers. So max scale is one of our critical component for the read-write split, and also for the auto failover. Yeah, so the next I want to show the day 0, day 1, day 2 in a short video, short demo, right? Maybe just 2.5 minutes to show how it looks like. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Hi, in this video we'll be going over the day 0, day 1 and day 2 operations for MariaDB, as well as the tools we have at our disposal to perform these operations. All of these can be found on the DBS Marketplace portal. What I have on my screen here is the MariaDB provisioning page. As part of day 0, this is where requesters will come to provision their MariaDB servers. Requesters can choose from a few instance types, and then they can click on the subscribe button, where they are prompted to provide additional information of the requirement of their order. They can select their architecture, for example, one master, one slave, among others, app code, and they can also choose their hard disk size and the MariaDB version. Once they click on the submission button, the order will be provisioned by default. After this provisioning, as part of day 1 operations, the servers are onboarded on various automation tools that are also accessible on Marketplace. The first of these is runDB. This tool allows users to perform, via the web interface, some of the tasks listed on the left column here. Examples include starting and stopping and restarting the database, and granting permissions. Day 2 operations include monitoring and patching. Marketplace contains a few tools that allows us to monitor database metrics in the web interface. The first of these is MariaDB Cockpit Portal. This portal allows us to visualize database metrics like DB status, long-running queries, as well as the statuses of backups on the VM level. Next, we have the MariaDB Dashboard Portal. This portal displays the health statuses of the database nodes. On top of that, the nodes are organized into clusters that they are in. Finally, we have the MariaDB Monyok Portal. This portal gives us various database metrics presented as graphs for us to monitor the changes of these metrics with time. In order to keep up with the latest changes to the database software, either to provide new features or to fix vulnerabilities, users will want to perform version changes through patching. DBS Marketplace also contains portals that assist with the patching process. In the patch dashboard, users are able to schedule patching by filling in the details here and selecting from available time slots to schedule their patching. Once patching has been scheduled, the servers will be populated into a patch schedule for that database. This table shows the details of the nodes that have been scheduled for patching. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, one more slide. Yeah. So now you would have seen where we started, right, and where we are today, right. So this is just a wrap-up slide. If you look at the complete journey, right, so the DBS journey. So before we start the digital transformation journey versus current one, right? So because before that, before we are starting the digital transformation journey, we have only less than 3% in the cloud native applications. But right now, more than 99% is already cloud native VMs or wherever it is. Similarly, the efficiency of the hardware also we have increased from 1:5 to now 1:100, right? And also the data center footprint. Earlier we have 28,000 square feet, but right now it is with very, very much smaller space with the 7,500 square feet, right? And also now, even though we have 2 data center, we don't consider it as a DR data center anymore, right? So we consider it as active. We don't call it as a primary and secondary. We call it as a DC1 and DC2 because both are active at any point in time. And similarly, because of all the virtualization and other thing, our capacity to scale is like earlier, even 3%, 4%, now it is like 10 times we have enough capacity to grow. Right, and also the system provision also, if you look at earlier, like if the application team want to provision a server or create a database, normally it will take 4 months, because to get a server, to install the OS and to install the database and harden it, creating everything, it will take 3 to 4 months minimum. But now maybe 5 minutes, everything is done, right? And also, because of all this aggressive automation and because of the massive scale, earlier we used to have 1:50 as a system to DBA ratio, but right now for OS we have 1 SA for 1,200 OS, and even for the database team, for the whole 6,000 plus database servers, we have only single digit DBA. Do you believe it? So our FTE ratio is 650 database servers. So if you translate into even database, every VM will have 6 or 7 databases, which means like a couple of 18, close to 5,000 databases for 1 DB. Yeah, so this is our complete transformation journey, right? So, and this is just a last one, what next, right? Because we are still, anyway, we are learning every day and we are improving, right? So, because we don't want to stop where we are. And so next we are thinking about going to the containers or Kubernetes, and also whenever the MariaDB MaxScale 23 is ready, we want to go with that. And also now the ransomware and the cyber attack is the hot topic, right? So how we can achieve that on the same, because now we have to rethink, right? So even though you have master slave or delayed replica, that won't help, right? Because if the attacker is coming on the backside, of course he can corrupt all the files, just like this, right? So it is not going to solve your problem. So these are all, I am working with all the MariaDB experts also, right? They are also helping me. Right, and also the downgrade, because the upgrade, no problem, right? So no downtime, no nothing, we can upgrade. We can go to any version, even from 10.2 to 10.6, no issue, no problem, right? But the downgrade, like after upgrading from 10.2 to 10.6, so suddenly maybe after 2 days, if application teams are facing some problem, how to go back, right? Now, because as a management, they will say, okay, roll back. Very simple to say, right? But how to roll back? So that is still, it is, challenge. So these are all the things we are trying to streamline further.
Okay, so thank you so much, GP.